Welcome to the Titanic VR guided tour. We are currently 3.8 kilometres below the surface of the North Atlantic and 100 metres east of the bow. This submersible is on autopilot. However, you can adjust your spotlight using the far left lever. Please keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times. I'll provide you with information about locations as we pass them, so please sit back, relax and enjoy the ride. The RMS Titanic was the second White Star Line Olympic-class ocean liner, the first being RMS Olympic and the third being HMHS Britannic. She was 269 metres long, 28 metres wide and 72 metres tall from the bottom of her keel to the top of her masts. At 46,328 tonnes, she was the largest ship built at the time, being only slightly bigger than Olympic. Olympic and Titanic were the 400th and 401st hulls laid by shipbuilders Harland and Wolff in their Belfast shipyard in Northern Ireland. The two ships were built side by side, with work on the Olympic begun first. Everything on RMS Titanic was massive. This centre anchor was at the time the largest anchor forged by hand and weighed in at over 15 tonnes. The centre anchor and the two bower anchors were made by Noah Hingley & Sons in their workshop in Dudley, England. The anchors were transported to Belfast by horse, train and ship before being installed. It took 3 years to construct Titanic, but by the 2nd of April 1912, Titanic was completed and taken out to the Irish Sea for her trials. She was certified as seaworthy by the British Board of Trade and ready for her maiden voyage. She would be servicing the transatlantic route, a journey from Southampton, England to New York, USA, with stops at Cherbourg, France and Queenstown, Ireland. RMS Titanic carried mail and cargo as well as passengers. She had 6 cargo hatches with numbers 1, 2 and 3 forward and 4, 5 and 6 aft. On her left is the number 1 hatch, the access point for the forwardmost cargo hold. The hatch cover can be found lying about 100 metres in front of the bow. It was blown off this hatch when the bow impacted the ocean floor and the water inside was forced up and out of the ship. After departing Southampton on the afternoon of Wednesday the 10th of April, RMS Titanic began her 5,360 kilometres journey to New York City. She was due to arrive in the early hours of Wednesday the 17th of April, but with calm ocean conditions and good weather, it was possible she could arrive early on Tuesday evening instead. The night of the 14th of April was moonless and a light fog was developing on the horizon. Titanic's captain Edward Smith had received a number of ice warnings during the day and had changed their course so they were further south to avoid the affected areas. The captain retired to bed and First Officer William Murdoch took charge of the bridge as Officer of the Watch. Titanic steamed ahead through the night while lookouts Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee searched the horizon for small ice. They were standing here in the crow's nest when at 11:40 p.m. Fleet spotted an iceberg directly ahead. He rang the warning bell 3 times to indicate an obstacle ahead and phoned the bridge. Murdoch gave the order, hard a starboard, and the ship turned to port, but it was too late. Titanic struck the iceberg on her starboard side. The impact buckled hull plates and sheared rivets, revealing her 6 compartments to the ocean. You can see here the remains of the crow's nest platform and the mounting bracket for the bell above the access hole. The bell and telephone can be found lying in the debris field. The lookouts would climb up a ladder on the inside of this mast to reach the crow's nest. Both Lee and Fleet didn't believe Titanic had struck the iceberg hard and thought it was just a close shave. They didn't realise the seriousness of the situation until they arrived on the boat deck and were ordered into lifeboats. We are now heading down the number 2 hatch to reach the main cargo hold and mail room. We're passing by decks D, E F and G, which housed the third-class open space and cabins for third-class single men and crew. Third-class single women and families were accommodated in the stern. The D-deck open space was a large sheltered area with bench seats, small tables and a bar. Steerage passengers used this space to walk, socialise and to listen to music. They were expected to create their own entertainment, and some passengers brought their instruments with them on the journey. The third-class passengers held a dance party here on the night of the sinking. The crew staying in this section were mostly firemen, trimmers and greasers. These crewmen worked in the hot and dirty boiler and engine rooms, shovelling coal and greasing machinery. Because of this, they had their own special wash areas and slept in rooms away from passengers. They accessed their work areas through a passageway under the cargo hold below. Titanic contained 15 bulkheads, thick walls that separate her lower decks into 16 watertight compartments. It was a new design technique that meant Titanic could stay afloat with up to 4 of her compartments damaged, and led to her being considered unsinkable. Unfortunately, the collision with the iceberg opened 6 compartments. Within the first 15 minutes, this cargo hold was underwater, and the third-class accommodation on G-deck above was starting to fill with water. This hold was used to store cargo for passengers and businesses being transported across the Atlantic. Among the crates of fabrics, furniture and food products, there were also a few unusual items, including orchids, dragon's blood, barrels of mercury and a brand new Renault automobile. Some of the more expensive items being carried included Egyptian artefacts heading for the Denver Museum, the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam and the Le Circassiano Ben painting by Blondel. These items were most likely held in the first-class baggage area next door, but were lost along with the mailroom when that section filled with water 20 minutes after the collision. We are now going to head through to the mailroom on the other side of this bulkhead. RMS Titanic was registered as a Royal Mail steamer and contracted to transport mail across the Atlantic. RMS liners were favourable with passengers as they were considered more reliable to arrive at their destination on time. Titanic had a mailroom and post office on board, with